Okay, so my name is Jolie Abreu. I am the productivity coach at my office in Farmington Hills, Michigan. So just over the border. We're actually north of Canada. If anybody, that's a fun fact about the Detroit area. We are north of Canada. We have to drive southeast to get to Canada. So there you go. So I am 45 minutes southeast from the Canadian the bridge to get to Canada. Um, and oh, good. Oh, fun. And I'm originally from Florida, so that's where I got my license. I'm going into my, and then we moved here about 10 years ago. So I've just started my 24th year as a real estate agent. Um, and when I say that out loud, it sounds so crazy. I've almost been a realtor for more than half my life. Almost been a realtor for more than half my life. Anywho, I got my license in 2001, and now here we are. 24 years later, I still have my Florida real estate license. So if anybody needs any referral in Florida or Southeast Michigan, I'm your girl. Reach out, and I'll put my contact in the chat at a certain point once the waiting room slows down and I can think a little bit. But anyways, okay. So that is my story. Montreal is my favorite. Oh, that's lovely. Okay. Yes. I will tell you, Canadians are some of the loveliest people on the planet Earth, in my experience. We Americans can be a little rough around the edges, but Canadians are always really pleasant. So, okay, that's my experience. Okay. So okay, so yeah, you are almost completed with Ignite. So congratulations for that. Today we're going to move on in the transaction part of the series. And today we're going to talk about working with uh, buyers and sellers. So you've already gone over winning the seller and winning the buyer. And so now we're going to talk about how you work with your clients once you have a signed listing or buyer agreement. So basically, this is what's going to happen this is what happens once you sign that listing agreement or sign that exclusive buyer agency agreement. Like what happens now? So are you guys doing the daily success systems? Raise your digital hand if you have been really going all in on the daily success systems. Do we know what the daily success is? Okay. Karen. Oh, Karen changed her mind. Callie? You had your hand up? Karen, you raised your hand because okay, you're in. Okay, perfect. I get it. Okay, never mind. I get it. Okay. You followed my instructions. I just didn't pay attention to my own instructions. Okay, great. Well, so who has some progress that you want to share? Who wants to share like something that you have um either learned or gotten out of by implementing the daily success system?
Do you mind me asking what is the daily success system?
Yes. Oh, it's not in, it's going to be towards the end. Is basic. Who wants to share what the daily success system is? Mayor doesn't know. I haven't heard of them, but becoming licensed next week. Congratulations. So the daily success system is kind of the activities that you're going to do to propel your business forward, right? So it's daily activities. We know it's all about consistent action, time on task over time, I like to say. So your daily success system is tracking how many conversations you're having. You really want 10. So tracking how many conversations out of 10 you've had, and that's a two-way conversation, right? So it doesn't count if you leave a voicemail. You have to have a two-way conversation about real estate, some way, shape, or form. Track how many contacts you added to your database, your command database, ideally 10. Send 10 handwritten notes. That's the goal, but you want to track how many. And then do the 10-5-1. Oh, I said 5-5-5, but the 10-5-1 social media engagement. That's the Ignite social media. So it's 10 likes, 5 comments, and 1 direct message. And then there's enrichment activities that you can do. And then how many appointments you went on, how many agreements you wrote, and how many closings you had. Now, I'm a productivity coach, and what I do, what a PC is, and if you have one in your office, if you're not already in the PC program, I really highly recommend it because it's a great way for you to, learn to connect with other agents that are in a similar position business-wise, and also be held accountable. And we talked last week in our PC group coaching about the importance of tracking our numbers and tracking the activities that we're doing. And who knows how long the life cycle is of a real estate transaction? Like when you first meet a client, has anybody heard that? Like what's the average when you first meet somebody, when are they likely to close? Does anybody know?
Can I take a guess?
Yes, go ahead.
Between 30 to 60 days?
Okay, close. That would be amazing. That would definitely be amazing. It's typically about 90 days. So
Okay.
typically 90 days from when you contract with somebody, right? So when now they have agreed to have you represent them, it's typically 90 days. So what that means is we know that the activities we do today are going to impact our business 90 days from now, right? And so if it's 6 months from now, how do you know what kind of business you're going to have? Like what would help you know what kind of business you're going to have 60 days from now? Based on the activities you did, how far back?
30
Or
days
6 months from
ago.
now? 30 days ago, right? So by tracking the activities that you're doing today, you're going to know what your business is going to look like 3 months from now. And so you're able to build a predictable business. So if you know you're going on vacation, say, you can then work backwards from your vacation in June. So go back May, I can't do it backwards, May, April, March. So the activities you do in March are what's going to set you up for a successful June or even February right now. If you're going on vacation in June, set yourself up for success right now. So that way you have closings scheduled and ready to go in May so that you can have your vacation in June, right? So that's what tracking our numbers does. So excellent. Okay, moving on. Okay, so today we are going to identify the key information to build success with buyers and sellers. We're going to use strategies to assist buyers and sellers with their decision making, and we're going to build build a strong success foundation relationship with our clients and co-op agents. So the co-op agent is the agent on the other side of the transaction, is what we talk about. So, okay. We're not going to go into small groups. This activity is small groups. So we're just going to keep moving forward. Okay. So virtually every top producing agent we have ever worked with has a deep and almost inherent sense of service. They have a servant's heart and place their buyers or sellers' real estate experience above all else. They're oh my God, words. They are always thinking of service. That's directly quote out of the MREA book. Have you all heard of the MREA this point, 16 sessions in? Okay, it's the red book. What does that mean to you? The idea of having a servant's heart.
It means everything that you do needs to be with the interest of your client in mind and not yourself or anybody else.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. And being of service, right? We're definitely more in the service industry than the sales industry. I consider myself a real estate advisor, right? So I'm here to help advise my clients and help them best reach their goals, whatever their goals are. So, yeah. Okay. So, today we're going to focus on the time between getting the signed buyer agreement or listing agreement and receiving or making an offer. So this is when you first meet the buyer or seller and they agree to hire you, and when you get that offer accepted that we're working towards. right? So that's this little small chunk of time that we're working with. And hopefully it's a fairly short time period. Hopefully we're not waiting around for a very long time to get them in contract. So the key to success for any transaction is going to be communication. The National Association of Realtors puts out a survey of buyers and sellers every single year. Last year's was actually just released, I believe. Every single year, at least for the last 23 years that I've had my real estate license, the number one thing buyers and sellers are looking for in their agent and the number one complaint revolves around communication. They all say communication is the most. I had a listing appointment yesterday, and once we got past the price and the cost and all those things, which he said, and I just kept digging deeper. What's most important? Communication. Communication was the top of his list. So, yeah, almost every single buyer and seller say communication is at the top of their list. And they also say if they had poor communication from the agent, that's something they remember. And that was something that this guy remembered from the agent who they used to buy the house. They had terrible communication. So good communication is really the foundation for great relationships. They are trusting you with what is very likely the largest financial transaction they're ever going to have in their entire life. So if we go to do you all have the participant guide by now? I'm assuming. So if you go to your participation guide, and I think it's going to be page, I don't know where it is. Now my pages aren't lining up. I don't know. Okay, so we're gonna go to the participation guide and look for something that looks like this screen because I actually don't have the participation guide opened up in front of me. Okay, go to the participation guide and where'd I go? I lost my spot here. Go to the participation guide and you're gonna make sure that your communication, and the 4 instances on the slide. So you want to provide a strong foundation for a sustainable relationship, set and manage expectations proactively throughout the transaction, create peace of mind for your clients, and it also enhances your credibility. It's virtually impossible to over communicate. A lot of agents come to me and they say, well, I don't want to bother them. You're not bothering them. Like, okay, it's now 2025. If y'all didn't know, we're in 2025. How many times have you gotten an email, saw the email, read it, didn't mark it as unread, forgot about it, maybe accidentally hit the garbage can, and then somebody says, hey, did you ever get a chance to look at that email I sent you? What email? You forgot completely. Even a text message, right? God forbid it's a phone call. Somebody called, they didn't leave a message or they left a message. You looked at the little thing on the screen, the transcription, and then you just kind of put it out of your mind, right? We are in such an information overload. It's impossible to over communicate because they're probably going to have forgotten that you called them the last time. Right? So don't ever be worried about over communicating. And in Command and your KW app, you can help automate it. So for those that have been using the Command app, like for our neighborhood nurture or smart plan, or who was it at the beginning? Was it Colin, I think, who said about the his friend who he put on a call campaign? We're just like that quarterly call campaign, which is to remind you to call them once a quarter. That led to a listing, right? So definitely utilize those. So in addition to all the things that we've just talked about, what's this? Oh, page 16.3. Thanks, Colin. Or Callie. Callie and Colin, you guys. Okay, we need some more names participating because I'm going to get confused really fast. Okay, so there's 3 levels of service from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And by keeping these levels in mind, you're going to serve your clients to the highest possible level. So we have purpose, and purpose is mastering, or page 240. Okay. I guess it's okay. Or pay 16.3 or 240. Thanks, Linda. Okay, thanks for being a fresh name in the chat. Okay. Okay, masters of service have a clear understanding of why they should be hired and can articulate it to anyone at any time. Great service begins with a clear purpose for why someone should work with you. Your value proposition is the best agents can translate their purpose and why, and the why people should hire them into a specific set of services they will provide. And fiduciary. So, highly productive agents provide a level of service based on their commitment to act as a fiduciary for their clients. They place their clients' interests above all others, even their own. A fiduciary brings a level of care and trust to the relationship that a functional agent does not. Who remembers the difference between fiduciary and functional agents or relationships?
Functional, you're basically just like walking them through the transaction to get it done and just the paperwork. Fiduciary, you really have their best interest in like confidentiality and stuff like that in mind.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. Fresh name again. I appreciate it. Yeah, so functional, you're just functioning as a real estate agent. Fiduciary, you're building a relationship, right? So yeah, very good. Okay, so, oh shoot, I was already, in my brain, I had moved on to the next slide. I knew that's what I was looking at that slide and I knew that's what I was going to talk about. So yay, we did it. Okay. Okay. So yeah, doing the right thing. Yeah, always, always win-win or no deal. That's one of the old bold laws. We have a new bold. Y'all probably don't even know what bold is, some of you, but anyways, we have had bold for like since 2009. And now they just rewrote the whole thing. But we have what's called our bold laws. And actually, at the Y4C2Ts. Who knows the Y4C2Ts? Have y'all ever heard of such a thing? Win-win or no deal? Integrity, do the right thing? Nope. Okay, I would challenge you guys to look up. Oh, great, Jamie, you want to do the dance? Do you know there's a dance? I would challenge you to encourage you to go to YouTube and look up the Y4C2Ts dance. Dave Jenks, who's a co-author of all of Gary's books up until this last one, because Dave passed away during COVID. Dave was an incredible human being, but he actually made up a dance for the Y4C2Ts. And Mark King, our former president of KW, he left the role last year, but Mark King actually took on he became the mascot for the dance. And every time you see him in a meeting, he'll make everybody stand up and do the dance. But so I would encourage you to go to YouTube, and well, I'll put it in the chat. 4C2T Y4C2Ts. So win-win or no deal, integrity, and then the 4Cs are customers always come first. Communication. Oh my God. See, now it's late. Now my brain's not working. Customers, communication, commitment. I can't think of the fourth.
Creativity.
Huh?
Creativity.
Creativity, ideas before action. And then the two T's are something about teamwork, and then trust. And then E is equity, and S is something about, I know there's an S, there's a dollar sign. Success. I can't think of the rest of it. Anyways, Google it. You guys Google it. And don't tell Mark King I didn't know this is recorded. Don't tell Mark that I didn't know it. You know, it's been a long day. That's what I'll say. Oh, we got a bunch of people in the waiting room. Oh my God. Okay. So, but look up the success results through people. Thank you. And you go with you do a dollar sign, and you got to do swoosh. Like you have to say it. Swoosh. Listen, I didn't make it up, but that's how it goes. Okay. So anyways, okay. So dual agency. We're going to talk a little bit about dual agency. like I said, my license, I was originally licensed in Florida, and dual agency is actually illegal in Florida. So I don't know what state y'all are in, or I don't know about Canada. I honestly don't know how real estate works there. I know y'all like, have different numbers and things, and I don't know if it's upside down or backwards. I don't really know. But I do know that in Florida, dual agency is illegal. And when we moved to Michigan about 10 years ago, and I got my license here, I found out dual agency was a thing. And my brain about fell out of my head. And I was like, I cannot do this. Don't know, don't like that. But I found out it is a thing here in Michigan, and it's fine. Honestly, it's no different than what we have in Florida, which is called a transaction relationship, the transaction agency relationship. It's kind of the same in the grand scheme of things. I guess technically, legally, it's different, whatever, different guidelines, but it's basically the same thing. So if dual agency is illegal in your state, you can mention the concept as something that clients might have questions if they're coming from another area. So just kind of be aware that if somebody's moving to different states, and especially if they bought or sold homes in a different state, your state may be completely different. Like Michigan, it has has some things that are similar and a lot of things that are different, right, than Florida. California, I don't know. No, nobody's not probably from California on this call because there's a West Coast time as well. But California, they have, their contracts are like 8,000 pages. It's crazy. New York, New Jersey, attorney states, Illinois, attorney state. Don't even get me started on attorneys mucking up real estate transactions. So I know this is being recorded, but I said what I said. And anyway, so just be aware that people are coming from different perspectives, right? But ultimately, your fiduciary commitment to your client is what's most important. Okay.
Not all of Illinois is attorneys.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah,
Chicago Metro is.
Yeah, but down by Metro St. Louis, we are
Yeah.
not.
Oh, well, lucky, good for you.
And
'Cause
we
it's-
do dual agency too. Not very often, but
Okay.
I have done it in the past.
Yeah, I've done it a handful of times here. I don't know. You just always want to be careful. You know what I mean? Just in general,
Oh,
like if you do the right thing, I think
right.
that's like the big, oh, good. Thanks, Teresa. Teresa just put the whole thing. Yay. Okay. Okay. So now you have it. Anyways, so yeah, we always just want to do the right thing. I just say, win-win or no deal kind of thing. And what I say to the agents that I coach, I say, just make it make sense. Make it make sense, right? As long as it makes sense and it's, and we're as fair as we can be, obviously work on behalf of your client, but if you're dual agency, just make it make sense. So, okay. In addition to all of that, you also owe confidentiality to both parties, right? So how can you be sure you're not giving away any confidential information, even accidentally? So if you are in dual agency or a transaction agent, you're quasi representing both sides in a real estate transaction, you have to be prepared to negotiate against yourself, right? So when negotiating inspection items, um, oh, like like negotiating inspection items, how are you going to make the seller's case to the buyer that the like HVAC system is working and therefore doesn't need to be repaired, right? So you have to just kind of walk the line. So, like you would never really go to court against someone who shared your same attorney. It's kind of like that, but we can work kind of at that arm's length with each other. So many agents do work both sides of a transaction, but definitely think carefully about it if that does happen and work with your broker in that situation. I know agents that 100% their goal is to sell their own listing. And I also know agents that 100% they never sell their own listings. Even if they get a buyer directly, they refer the buyer out. So work with your broker, figure out your local laws and customs. This is my statement where I say not a broker, not an attorney. This is just what I do. Do what I say, not what I do. I don't know. Okay, so in your participation guide, um, you can see the 3 levels of service, right? And talk about fiduciary relationships with your clients. And you can see those as the what part of being a great agent, right? So now how do we implement that in our business? How you reach the 3 levels of service for your clients is largely about communication and education. As a real estate agent, you're immersed in buying and selling houses every single day. So it's your job to do that, right? We do this every single day. Most of our clients have either never bought or sold a house, or they haven't in like 20 years, right? So whenever I hear when I'm on an appointment, they say, "Oh, we bought and sold lots of houses." Okay, well, how many did you sell last year? I bet I sold more. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to throw that in their face, but just kind of bear that in mind, right? Like this is our job, full-time or part-time. This is your job, right? So you're in it. And like I said, the homes are the biggest asset, so you really want to tread carefully. So you want to make sure that you are demonstrating your expertise by educating your client on the realities of the market, as well as the real estate process, right? And by doing that, you become the expert. So you need to set expectations for the process and for communication. So part of educating your clients is to review the entire process. And when you went on the buyer or listing consultation, so somebody said they redid their listing presentation. Does that include a kind of a timeline, an overview timeline? Who has something like that in their buyer or listing presentation? The flow chart, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Phyllis, a flow chart. There's like I've seen a Monopoly chart. Jamie, yes, thank you for the thumbs up. Yes. And it's good because it helps the buyer or seller anticipate what's going to come, right? So they see the flow of the process, so there's fewer surprises. So if you tell them up front, this is what's going to happen, what happens next is something I like to say. So what happens next is we're going to get the pictures done. We're going to
Jolie,
work up the marketing materials. We're going
Jolie,
to, uh-huh.
um, just a question. Do we have the same kind of material in the guide that we received or no? Because I was looking at it, but I don't see that.
What do you mean? Well, this is
That
not it.
chart.
This chart now.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, it's not. It should be. Hmm. That's a good point. It's not in there. But
Because I just sold my first house and
mhm.
basically that's exactly what I was looking at. So I have to Google it because I didn't even know what was the step of, like the process of selling the house. So, but that chart helped me a lot. So, but I
Yeah,
have to Google it.
well, if you go to command and you create a buyer presentation or a listing presentation, there is a page in there where it doesn't look like this, but it does go through the steps. Also, you can look on Google, you can look for, there's a Monopoly game board that walks through, like it does like a Monopoly game and it walks through the steps. And you could find that on the internet. I'm trying to think of another. Breakthrough Broker is a resource that it used to be 100% free. I feel like it might not, I don't know if it's still totally free or not, but they have this kind of a chart also. But yeah, if you Google it, or there's Gary Keller wrote a book last year, published a book last year called or 2 years ago, called My First Home or Your First Home. And that's intended for buyers, but it really goes through the process. So it's really educational, I think. And there's actually a PowerPoint presentation on Connect, KW Connect. If you search for, I don't know if it's My First Home or Your First Home, but look for that in there. And then the other thing is if you look at the command checklist, and you can find that in KW Connect as well. And that walks through kind of what happens in each stage of a transaction. So those would be the resources that I would point you at. And go to your office team leader and your productivity coach if you have a PC in your office, or your tech trainer could point, if you have a tech trainer or even your regional tech trainer, they can point you in the direction of the checklist. Or go to KW Connect. Okay. So, okay. So share like the timeline with your buyers or sellers. It is Carolina.
It's Carolina, but you can call me Carolina or Carol. I don't mind.
Okay. Okay. That's what I answered to Julie, Joelle, Jolene. Well, not really Jolene. I don't like that. But there is no song with my name in it. I'll say that. Yeah, so like you said, Carolina, that the process, it's a lot. There's a lot of steps, right? And it would have been helpful to know in advance what the steps were going to be. It's also a very emotional process. Who knew that? That's such an emotional process. Like we basically are almost therapists. But really everything that we do in our lives that's new, like it can be complicated, right? Or it can be as simple as we make it. And sometimes with a plan, like think about dinner. Okay, my least favorite question, and I don't know who agrees with this, my least favorite, the $1 million question and my least favorite question, what's for dinner? Who knew that you'd become a whole grown adult and your whole life would be around deciding what's for dinner every single day for the rest of your life, forever and always. Anywho, but having a meal plan helps with that, right? So if you have a meal plan and you know what's going to be for dinner well, maybe not next Monday because it's only Wednesday, but if I know what's for dinner on Friday, how much freer do I feel Friday morning, right? When I wake up. So I have a plan. It's the same with the buying and selling process. The more you can pre-plan, I know we all hate that question. We hate that question. My husband hates that question. And I say, well, what do you want for dinner? He's like, I don't know, whatever. And then if I make the whatever, he doesn't like it. And I'm like, well, you put me in charge of the decision. The small people have no choice. They just have to eat. Okay. All right. So if you told a buyer that they had to get out and see properties the same day they hit the market 2 months ago when they were focused on getting their down payment together, they're not going to remember the details, right? If they're trying to get their down payment, they're not ready to buy, but you're like, let's go see houses, let's go see houses, let's go see houses. No, they're not ready to buy. So not only is that putting the cart before the horse, they're also not going to remember and they're not ready. And then you're just going to overwhelm them. Right, Renee? My husband does not ask that question. He hates that question. So, well, no, he will ask. He'll say, what? Well, yeah, that's true. He'll say, what's for dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. I just can't make a decision anymore. But okay, so I digress. So if you're setting up the search, you should update them on how quickly the market is moving in their desired neighborhood. Now, right now, for most of us, the market has slowed, at least somewhat, if not significantly. So you want to make them just aware. So if the market has picked up, or maybe the market is really strong in one area and not so much the other. Like for us, it can be by school district or zip code, can be stronger or weaker than the other and move faster. We are still seeing multiple offers in my area, depending on the location, condition, and price point. So really you want to know what's going on hyper local and be able to educate them so they know, so they're prepared, right? And it's the same for sellers. Just because you covered how chaotic the first week of the market might be for the listing, when you set it, like say you met with them 2 months ago, it doesn't mean that they even remember that, right? So as you get ready to show, you want to remind them this is the current market conditions, right? For most people, it is rare to have to make such a big decision in such a short period. They really do. Think about it. They're meeting with you, they're deciding who's going to represent them, and then they're going through the process. And it all, even in a slower market, it still happens relatively fast, right? That they're making this like, $500,000 decision plus, right? It's a lot. It's a big decision that happens pretty quickly in the grand scheme of things. So always staying in communication, reiterating the expectations, all of that is what is going to keep the transaction moving successfully. It's going to keep your relationship in the positive, right? And hopefully have a positive outcome. Okay. So we all know this. My little note says you will likely need to go over the contract before you ever see a house. Well, let's just say that post August 17th, we all need to go over the contract before we see a house, right? So the buyer consultation includes, I like to review the contract with them in advance because I don't want to show them the contract, not the buyer agency contract. Obviously, we're doing that, but the actual contract that they're going to write. I want to be able to go through it at the time, or at least hit the big points, right, of the contract when I'm consulting with them at the beginning before we've even seen houses, because I want to set that expectation. So it's also the document expectation, right? Because there's a lot of paperwork. And don't be the agent that just sends them the DocuSign and says, here, sign this without going through it. I will say one thing I feel very lucky about being licensed as long as I have. When I got my real estate license, we didn't have the internet, you guys. We didn't have DocuSign. We didn't have electronic signing software. We didn't have a lot of things, right, that we have now. I had to get contracts signed in person, both listing and buyer contracts signed in person with a pen, and I would sit there and go through the contract with them section by section. And I feel like, and since this whole like NAR settlement, I really feel like that's one of the big things that has been missing in our industry. That was my big epiphany. Had we still been going through the contract with the detail that we used to 20 years ago? Yeah, right. Oh, books with all listings. Listen, my mother's been a real estate agent since the 70s, and she's a broker. And so we had an MLS book. Y'all, there were things called MLS books. Who remembers? You have to be of a certain age, but you remember the dot matrix paper with the green and white stripes, and it would go choo 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 choo, and it had little holes in it because that's what would carry it through the printer. The MLS listings were on those kind of pieces of paper in this giant book you have to put in the book, and the fancy listings had a Polaroid. Right? Okay. Thanks. Sue is with me on it. The only one that's with me on the MLS book and the dot matrix and the whole thing. Anyways, I feel like though, and I said this for months going into this whole thing with the NAR settlement, that is a big thing that I think we've gotten so quick and so rushed and accept the terms and terms and agreement. What is it? The terms and conditions. Just click accept and move on. Just sign it. Don't look, don't read, don't just sign. And they were signing stuff that they weren't reading for $500,000. You guys, or $1 million. That's crazy. Even $100,000. So I feel like there's definitely, oh, thanks, Karen. Karen feels our pain too. But and carbon copy paper, you guys, carbon copy. That's where the phrase sign here, press hard came from. Carbon copy paper. If somebody wanted a copy and you were there and they wanted a copy, you use carbon copy paper, or you had to go back to your office and photocopy it. Those are the choices. Anywho. So go through the contract with them. Let them know what to expect. Let them know what happens next is. So we're going to look at houses. Then we'll put in an offer. If our offer is accepted, the next step is going to be the home inspection. And we're going to look for major flaws in the house, major structural flaws in the house. Understand this is a used home in reality here. It's a used home, so there's going to be wear and tear. There's going to be minor things going on. We're looking for major issues. And the inspector will go through and list off what's major, what's minor, what's something to keep an eye on. We'll negotiate that out. Then after the inspection, you'll work with your lender to order the appraisal. Both the inspection and appraisal are paid out of pocket at the time of service. Set that expectation so they know they're going to need, a minimum of $1,000 ready in check or credit card to pay for the inspection and appraisal. Let them know. Don't let them be blindsided by that, right? Then you're going to get through the appraisal. We're going to make sure all this, you see what I'm saying? You're setting up the expectation of this is what happens next. Full disclosure, and that communication is what's going to keep you going in the transaction. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Uh, it may be different in the US, but in Canada, like we had, for buyers especially, we had, in Nova Scotia, we have a lot of closing costs.
Mm-hmm.
And usually before, like I find it worthwhile to actually talk to people about all of these expenses before they start shopping a house.
Mm-hmm.
Because not everybody actually has this stuff in cash, and they've got to figure that out before
Yeah.
you get 60 days down the road and they're sitting in a lawyer's office and go, oh, I need another $6,000.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so on the buy side, we want to make sure and double and triple check that the lender has given them what's called a good faith estimate. That's what we call it here in the Americas. We call it a good faith estimate. And so the lender will give them a breakdown of the costs. And on the listing side, we can provide a net sheet. Your title company may and should likely have an app with a net sheet calculator that makes it very easy. Work with your title company. If they don't, a lot of times your title processor will do a net sheet for you. And I like to do a net sheet when I'm on that listing appointment talking about price. Because honestly, the sale price means nothing, the net price is everything. What is going to go in your pocket, Mr. or Mrs. Seller? That's what's most important here. And that's what I like to focus on, because all these other numbers mean nothing. Your house is going to sell for 500,000, 600,000, 300,000, doesn't matter. What are you going to walk away with? Right? Oh, and this is where we want to ask questions about, how much you owe on your mortgage. Let's hope it's more. Let's hope it's less than what the house is worth. Otherwise, we're 2010 doing short sales. Right? So we want to ask those questions. Okay. So on session, oh my God, where did my thing go? Okay. Okay. You're going to talk about this in the next session, which is making and receiving offers. So kind of hold on to that next step about making and receiving offers. I'm just giving you an overview as an example of like the reason we want to be communicative, right? So right now, when you're meeting with them and you've gotten them to agree to work with you before you start looking at houses, you're going to review where you are and then future pace it. What happens next, right? And so all that what happens next, even if you just told them like 3 steps ahead, now you've done the one step one of the 3 steps you told them, remind them. So what happens next is we're going to have the home inspection, then we'll order the appraisal, then it will go to the underwriter. Okay, now that we've done the inspection, what happens next is the lender will order the appraisal, and then we'll go to the underwriter. They're going to ask for a bunch of extra pieces of paper that you didn't even know that you had. And then we're going to get the closing, right? So you're always trying to future pace them and tell them what happens next. Okay. Set the expectations for communication. Some agents feel like they can never turn their phone off or take a day off. Who wants to live like that? I don't. Jordan Freed is a MAPS coach, and he has this idea of the 1-3-7. So 1 day off a week, 1 3-day weekend a quarter, no, a month, and 1 7-day vacation a quarter. So who's looking at me like I'm a crazy person for saying that? Or who feels like I'm a crazy person? Listen, if we're tracking our numbers and running our business like a business, you can absolutely create a predictable business that you can take 1 3-day weekend a month and 1 7-day vacation a quarter. Now that's going to start with setting boundaries, right? Turn off your phone at 8 p.m. That's it. Turn it on to do not disturb, 7 p.m. Whatever works for you and your lifestyle. Don't turn it off of do not disturb until 8 a.m. or 7 or whatever it is that works for your lifestyle, right? And set the expectation in advance. If you call me after my normal business hours are from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you connect with me outside those business hours, I will get back to you the next business day. That's not crazy. And if somebody's not understanding of them, tell them you'll call them at 1 a.m. with their answer. They're not going to like that either. Burnout is real, right? So you need to take time for yourself, right? Just be communicative and let them know, right? And also communication style, right? Does your client hate texting, hate text messages, and they'd rather talk on the phone? Guess what? There are people out there that do. I have an agent that I coach who is 29 years old. Can I tell you she hates text messages? She prefers talking on the phone. I was shocked. So, figure out what their preferred communication style is. Okay. So, what happens when a house comes on the market that's perfect for your buyers the weekend your sister is getting married out of state? You got to have a plan for stuff like that. So if you're going to do your 137 and take time off, have a contingency plan. Better get someone to show. Exactly. Work with an agent in your office. I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. If you help me out this weekend, I'll help you out when you go on vacation. Communicate in advance. Let your buyers know or sellers know you will be out of town during this time and this is the person they can connect with. Maybe you work with the seller who's going to be out of town. And what happens if you get the golden offer during that time, right? Set the expectation with the agent. And if the agent says the sellers are going to be out of town in the UP of Michigan, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which has like cell phone service from like 1904, right? And you're not going to be able to reach them. And this buyer's agent comes in with an offer on a Friday that expires Saturday at noon. You know what? The sellers are up north. They have zero internet. They're in a tent in the middle of the woods, surrounded by ponds. I don't know, right? We're not going to be able to get to them until Monday. Is your buyer okay to wait? If the buyer's not, it is what it is, right? We can't send a carrier pigeon, So just make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody understands. And let your sellers know if they're going to go out of town like that, there is a chance we get an offer and there's a chance the buyer won't want to wait until you're back. I will do my best, but here we are. And then you want to update your client's view of the market. So that way you can show your expertise, right? They need to understand the real realities of the market that they're in. So anybody who bought a house in 2021 that might now be trying to sell that house very likely will be shocked and confused at the difference in the market. And they're going to say, well, where's my 50 offers? How come people aren't bidding $100,000 over my list price? Because this is a different market. The market is always changing. I know it feels like, agents that have had their real estate license for less than 10 years have never actually experienced a buyer's market. That's the majority of agents right now. The majority of real estate agents that are working in 2025 have never experienced a buyer's market. A true buyer's market. This is not a true, but I mean, maybe some places are edging on their buyer's market, but we're not really truly in a true buyer's market like we have been in the past. Where sellers were offering everything, a pizza party, throwing in the car, whatever they had to do to get that house sold, right? So we're semi-normal semi feels like a buyer's market is what we're kind of in most places, right? So you want to set the expectations, right? What does the market mean to them? Who's heard of Jeff Glover? I can't see y'all, so I don't know who's saying. Okay. For anybody who has heard of Jeff Glover, oh, Jen, yes. Okay, thanks. Thanks for acknowledging. Okay. So Jeff actually is a real estate agent in my market. He lives like 15 minutes away from me. I'm friends with his fiance. I've known her since I've lived here. But anyways, Jeff has a thing that he says that I think is super spot on. Days on market is the enemy of price. Days on market is the enemy of price. And what he means by that is the longer a house sits on the market, the more questions the buyer's going to have about it. And the more doubt they're going to have about the price. Even in a crazy seller's market, buyers still ask one of the first questions, how long has the house been on the market? It sets the expectation about what kind of offer they could make. Go into your MLS, look at the stats, share those stats with, you can do it in showing time too, and see the stats for similar houses. And then Keller Williams also has tech that you can leverage. I'm not going to really hover too much on this because tech changes all the time, but share your KW app. Put them on those neighborhood nurtures. Put them on a neighborhood nurture for the neighborhood that they live in now and the surrounding neighborhoods. So that way they can see what's happening in real time. Okay. So we've done all this stuff and we haven't even gotten to the part where we're putting in an offer. I know I talked about inspection and appraisal, but this whole stuff, this conversation has been that when you sign that exclusive contract to when you start looking at houses. All this communication happens during that short period of time. All the expectation, all of this stuff, this is what's setting you up for success, setting you up for future referrals, setting you up for that 5-star Google review. Y'all, focus on Google and not Zillow for your reviews. That's my other little pro tip. Because we don't know what's going to happen with Zillow. And you don't want to put all this effort into getting your Zillow reviews. Most likely the person's going to Google you. The Zillow reviews will pop up, but Google will pop up first. Oh, and speaking of people are going to Google you, your social media. I know you all had the social media class already, but make sure your profiles say you're a real estate agent with a way to contact you. Whether it's like a link in bio, link tree, whatever. Make sure those things happen. And for your personal Facebook, make sure you have a couple of public posts, public public privacy, like the ones that like strangers can see, non-friends can see, that show that you're in real estate. Because people will Google you. People will go on the socials. So make sure you have some, even if you're not into it, have something out there. So you seem relevant. Okay. So, but why do you think we're talking about all this stuff from when you sign the exclusive contract to when you start showing houses? Like, what's the importance? Who has a takeaway from this part? We had some new people come in, so they might not know. Who wants to share why it's important? Or not important? Okay. All right, fellas, thank you. Builds relationships with the client. Yeah, builds a relationship. They're going to see you as the expert, you know? So there's 3 simple ways that you can get referrals. Provide value, ask for help, let them know that your business is based on referrals. There's nothing wrong with letting them know that. say, I rely on referrals. If you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell, I'd be grateful if you could let me know. The best way to share a referral with me is through a three-way text. Reward the referral. So we want to reward the activity, not the outcome. So you don't want, A, you don't want to wait till closing, and B, that becomes a little gray area because you don't want to be seen as paying a commission of sorts, towards a non-real estate agent. So we, like a broker of mine always used to say, reward the activity, not the outcome. So when they send you a referral, maybe send them a little $5 Starbucks gift card, right? Or send them a carton of eggs. I don't know. Right? Whatever is seen of value in that time. Costco has eggs back, for the record. Oh my God, you guys, speaking of eggs, I went to the grocery store the other day and I bought like a regular little carton of eggs because I usually get them at Costco because we go through a lot of eggs around here. But I bought a little carton of eggs and I had them. I park in the garage in my house because it's winter. My husband parks in the driveway, but I get to park in the garage. And but my car trunk opens up like, like up and down. So, oh, bye, Colin. Oh, very well, lovely to meet you. If I'm ever in New Brunswick, I'll look you up. I won't
No,
be, but
I'm in Nova Scotia, but we'll.
Nova Scotia. Okay. If you're ever in Detroit. But anyways, I went to the grocery store, I had my little eggs, and because when I pull in my garage, I don't put my groceries in my trunk because then I can't pull all the way in the garage. It's the whole thing. Anyways, logistics. So I put them in the passenger seat because I didn't have that many. Would you know that my one carton of eggs fell right out the car when I opened the door?
Oh,
I lost half of them, but I was like I was all in it, looking for cracks, washing them off. I saved 6 eggs. That's where we are right now, where I'm washing eggs off, looking for cracks, so I didn't have to. I was like heartbroken when I was throwing those eggs away. Anyways, I digress. Okay, so you want to reward the behavior, the activity, and not the outcome. And here's our Google stars. Here's our 5-star review. Have you ever done work on your house recently that needed like a contractor, like a plumber or a or a I don't know, electrician? Like, how did you find them? Yelp? Word of mouth? Right. And what are you looking for when you're going to Yelp and word of mouth? Like you're looking for a new hairdresser, or you're looking
Google.
for
Review.
reviews, right? Are you going to go to the restaurant that had 2.1 stars, or are you going to go to the restaurant that had 4.4? Right? Yes, that somebody's used them and was happy with the service. So make sure you have reviews that creates a positive presence, like web internet presence, right? By telling potential clients how successful you are at finding and selling houses, that can be sort of effective. But when other people tell them, oh my God, Jolie was amazing to work with. She held our hand the whole time. She went above and beyond. The most important thing you can do to get reviews is to give value and ask. That's it. Provide value and ask for the referral. And remind them through the whole process. What was this? Susan said, I'm taking my 2 friends to breakfast in the morning. They are my biggest cheerleaders on my business. Yes. Yes. I have coffee every Friday with 2 of my good friends here, and 1,000%. they would refer me to anybody. And they're both business owners, and I would refer them to anybody, right? And we talk about our struggles. We talk about what's going on in our world, right? So let them know there's something called the promise. And if you Google it, Keller Williams, The Promise. You can probably find it in Connect too. But if you look for the promise, it's the idea of you're going to set up the expectation from the beginning, from that very initial meeting. You know, my goal is to provide you with 5-star service. If at any point during the transaction you feel like I'm not providing you with 5-star service, I would love to have a conversation and figure out what I can do to earn that 5-star service. And throughout the process, I'm going to remind you of that and ask you, you know, who do you know? Who else do you know that may be in need of my services? And at the end of the transaction, I'm going to ask, have I done everything I can to earn a 5-star review? And I'd hope that you leave that 5-star review, however it goes. That's the promise in a nutshell. So here's a review request. If your purchasing or selling experience exceeded your expectations, would you be so kind as to give me a brief review? I'd also like your permission to use this in my marketing and advertising. Very simple, right? Okay. Oops. Okay. Seller-oriented reviews gain attention when they address things like the client's home sold quickly. They got their asking price or above their asking price. They were impressed by the service. Linda?
So I just wanted to add this because it's one of the things I think a lot of people struggle with if they're a new agent. Some of the values and the value that we bring to the job, we might bring from other experiences.
Yes.
And so if you don't have any sales, any experience with real estate customers, I think it also helps if you have helped anyone work on a project or you've added value, helping them with interior design, whatever it is that you've done in the past that someone was satisfied or happy with. And you can even find these things in your text messages and you don't really look at them as testimonials or positive feedback, but they are. They're like, you're the greatest. Thank you so much. And you can just put anonymous.
That's it. That's it. You can ask everybody to go to Google, everybody that you know, to go to Google and leave you a 5-star review. They don't have to talk about real estate, right? Anybody that you've ever worked with, anybody that you know. Another hack is to leave 5-star reviews for other businesses. When you do that, they're going to notice and they might comment. Oh my God, that was so great, you know, whatever. And then say, would you mind leaving a review for me? A couple of resources that I'm going to suggest to you guys is, first of all, one is going to be, who's on the pivot call? Hopefully all, however many are you? I don't know how many are you right now. 97. Hopefully all 97 of y'all are on the pivot call in the morning. He has a Facebook group called Pivot Shift Ahead. And then you get on the call, the Zoom call, pivot shift call.com. Get on, register once. Every quarter he changes the link. So you register once, you put that link in your calendar for the quarter. And then at the next quarter, he changes out the link and you register again. Call starts at 7:30 Eastern. He live streams to the Facebook group at 8 a.m. First 30 minutes are the pre-show. Last 20 minutes is the real show. And it's really only 15 minutes because there's tell me something goods at the beginning. That is going to be one of your best sources for motivation, inspiration, ideas, masterminding. There's between 500 and 1,000 agents on that call every single day, 5 days a week. He's been running that call since March 13th of 2020, since COVID. Hands down, one of the best mindset, motivation, masterminds I have ever experienced in my 20 whatever years. Well, I put it in the chat. Pivot Shift Ahead is the Facebook group. The idea is he started during COVID reading through the Shift book and discussing Gary Keller's book. So Pivot Shift Ahead is a Facebook group. You get on the call, pivotshiftcall.com, or go to jamesdshaw.com and click on, yeah, the recording, the recordings from 8 to 8:20 are on the Facebook group. The pre-show is very rarely recorded. When he does record it, he puts it on YouTube. But listen, just join that group. If you can't get on the call, listen to the recordings. Hands down, value, 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 value. The other thing that if you're an early bird, early birds talking real estate, they also have a Facebook group, but their chat is every morning at 6:30 Eastern, from 6:30 to 7 Eastern on Clubhouse, on the Clubhouse app.
Jolie, I have a question.
Yeah.
Going back to the Google reviews really quickly.
Yeah.
So with like our websites, for example, that we get through Keller Williams as a new agent,
Yes.
those are not linked to Google.
Right.
So I think in order to get Google reviews, you have to have like a Google profile essentially that I think usually you pay for.
No,
No?
don't let anybody tell you you have to pay for it. It is completely free to set up a Google profile, business profile.
Okay.
So you're going to Google, create a Google business profile. And don't do anything that's paid. Just set it up directly through Google, completely free.
Okay, great. And then with that, they should be able to leave your reviews. Can you link your website through there too, or is it just?
Yeah, no, you create a whole profile. It's actually almost like a little mini social media platform too. You can do posts. You can post pictures and videos and do different things to keep it like relevant.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. 100% do that. And be cautious. Put your name in it. Don't just put Keller, learn from me. Don't do what I did. I put Keller Williams Realty dash Jolie Abreu. Thinking, oh, I'm gonna like Keller Williams. Like they're gonna see the real estate before they see my name. What had happened was once I did that, I started getting calls for the office. And the first couple calls were actual buyers and sellers. So I was like, this is incredible. Then the calls started becoming broker calls. And when an agent or a buyer is calling to speak with the broker, you don't want to be on the phone with that person. So that's my cautionary tale. Yes. So Tiffany, should we use our name as the entity? Yes. You can say Tiffany Etheridge, Keller Williams Realty, but make it clear that it's you and not the office for the reason that I just said. First of all, also check with compliance in your office. So I don't know, check with compliance first. But from a practical standpoint, I would not put Keller Williams as the sole name or the only name or the beginning part of the name, just because you're going to end up in my situation and have people calling and yelling at you for transactions you have no idea about what's happening. And then you have to tell them to call the office number, and it's just not pretty. Don't do that, because I did that and it was terrible. So anyways, learn my lesson. I was like, how quickly can I take this off my Google profile? So anyways, okay. So buyer-oriented reviews persuade when they say things like the buyer found their perfect home quickly, right? The agent negotiated a great price. The transaction went smoothly. They were impressed by the service. Oops. So think about what would cause somebody. And again, even if it's not somebody that you did a transaction with, what are some things? Go to your group of friends, Sue, and ask them to leave a review, right? Or whatever, anything like that. And tell them, these are some talking points. Okay, so we've talked about dual agency. We've talked about reviews, referrals, all the things to keep the client happy. And now we're going to talk about what buyers need from you. So This is from, remember I mentioned the NAR profile of home buyer survey of home, well, I called it the survey, but it's a profile of home buyers and sellers. This comes out of that, right? So the majority of buyers, the number one thing that they want is help finding the right home to purchase. Even in, this was published in 2021, even in 2021, buyers want the real estate agent to help them find the right house, even in the age of the internet. Other, I don't know what all is in other, but the next highest is help buyers negotiate the terms of the sale and help them with price negotiations. Oh, other includes help with the paperwork, determine what comparable homes are selling for, and help determine how much the home the buyers can afford. So the first step of stellar buyer service is being aware of their needs, right? So you should have conducted a thorough needs analysis with your buyer at the initial consultation leading up to your signed agreement. And if you didn't, that's your first step after the agreement. Go through the timeline, do all the things, right? Go back to session 14 and review your notes. So why should we revisit the needs analysis of our buyers? Like, what do you think? Why should you revisit?
We had to revisit multiple times when we were searching for this house because we just weren't finding everything on the list. So then you have to go back through and reprioritize what your non-negotiables are and what you can aspire to have later.
Exactly. Exactly. And then my pro tip question when they say this is a must have, what's important about that? And if you ask what's important about that and what else? And what else? And dig deep to figure out what's important about that, maybe we can find an alternate solution. Right? You really want a 4-bedroom home. Well, what's important about that? Well, we need a home office. We need a guest bedroom. Okay, would a room that doesn't necessarily count as a bedroom work? Maybe it doesn't have a window. Maybe it doesn't have a closet. Maybe it's in the basement. Maybe it's above the garage. I don't know. Right? Would that work? So yeah, excellent. How long have you had your license, Callie?
Not quite a month.
Okay, good. You're going to be great working with your buyers, especially your first time home buyers.
Thank you.
Because you're fresh in it, right? And even on the sell side, I can tell you, go be a listing agent and say, listen, I just bought a house for the first time and I can tell you all the things we went through. And these are all the things your buyers are going to go through. Especially if you're working with those move up buyers that are selling the starter home. That's a great value add to say, this is what I experience as a first time home buyer, and your buyer is very likely going to experience the same thing. I can help set you up for success and help the buyers prevent some of the hurdles that we went through. There you go. I just created a marketing campaign for you. You're welcome. Zero charge. Okay. Okay. So all these things fall into two basic categories. Buyers' lives change and the world around buyers changes, right? In either case, the buyer's needs can change. Whether it's a change in their lives or the world around them, you may need to revisit the needs analysis during the transaction. It can also help you find out why homes that should be the perfect for your buyers are not inspiring others. Has anybody heard the phrase buyers are liars? Oh, well, that's a thing that a lot of people say in the real estate world. Buyers are liars. Guess what? They're not liars. You're just not asking enough questions. Nanny boo boo, it's your fault. You know, you got to ask enough questions to get to the root of the situation, right? That's what we want to do. Okay. Buyers are liars and sellers are yellers because we're not asking enough questions. We're not over communicating. We're not setting expectations. It's not them, it's you. So this is why you want to have, you know, you want to set up communication expectations from the beginning. So a thorough and frequently revisited and revised needs analysis is your greatest resource in having tough conversations. So if you really drill down and figure out what's most important, then when you have to go back and have that tough conversation and go back to Callie and say, listen, friend, you know, we might not, we're struggling to find A, B, C, and D. Which of these things can we maybe, you know, remove from the list? What's the nice to have, but, you know, not must? Maybe we can look at a fixer-upper, right? I have some great contractors I can recommend that can work with you. And think of it as a passion project, sweat equity, right? This is going to be your home that you're going to be able to design the way you want, not buying a home that is somebody else's idea of top design. How's that for spin? Right? So what are some other conversations you need to have with clients along the way? Like what might you need to have a conversation with them about, maybe things not to do when they're trying to buy a house? Callie's all excited. She can't find the mute button.
I have a friend who financed a bunch of furniture while they were in the process of trying to buy a home.
Yep.
And it affected their ability to purchase.
Yep. 1,000% people get so excited and they go out. That's one of the most common things. They buy a bunch of furniture for their new house that they haven't bought yet. Yep. All the things are all coming up in the chat. I have a thing that it's the 10 commandments of buying a house. Thou shalt not finance a bunch of crap. Thou shalt not open a line of credit. Thou shalt not buy a new car. You bought a new car? Great. You're going to be living in it. Thou shalt not change jobs. Oh, don't quit your job. Thou shalt not change jobs without telling your lender. I had that happen. The guy got a new job. Technically, he was making more money. Didn't think to tell the lender. We got all the way through 2 days before closing. Do you know one of the things the lenders do the day of closing or the day before? They call to verify employment.
Really?
How shocking. How shocked was that underwriter when they found out? They called the employer and the employer said, oh, they don't work here anymore. You guys, don't do that. Make sure your buyers know to don't do that, right?
Also, with technology this time, don't talk about how much you love the house while you're in the house because people can hear you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We bought a house in, you guys, we bought a house in 2008. We did it. We bought a house in 2008 or 9. It was 2009, but still, we bought a house right as the recession was right before the tank. And we're like, oh my God. So we bought a house. We were relocating to Georgia, to Atlanta. I've moved like 5 times in my real estate career. I can tell you all about starting your career, your sphere over again, but that's a whole nother session. We were moving to Atlanta. I had gone up on several house hunting trips and then I couldn't go this last time. And my husband was driving around on his own because it was the weekend, it was the day that he had off and he was just there and whatever. I don't know. So he's driving around, sees a for sale sign. Owners happened to be outside doing yard work. He stopped. He said, hey, I'm buying a house. Can I look at your house? This is my husband. I had had my real estate license at this point for 8 years, 7, 8 years, right? So he knew as much as I shared with him, and clearly I wasn't sharing enough about the process with my own husband, even though this was our second house we had bought together, whatever. He asked if they could show him the house. Cool. Showed him the house. He loved it. you know, he called me from the driveway in the summertime with people's windows open, talking about how much he loved the house. And I don't care what they're asking, we need to buy this house. Out loud. My husband, I'm a real estate agent. I'm like, what are you? Go sit in your car. Close the doors, pull the windows up. Go drive away. Immediately. I was horrified. Anywho, yes, so I agree. This was even before people had cameras and things in their house, but the sellers could hear him. We ended up paying full price for that house in 2009. Anyways, we kept it as a rental for a long time until we could sell it. Because we moved. We moved at that point. After that point, it was a whole thing. Anywho, so don't do that. Tell your buyers not to do that. Okay, so now that we've talked about how we can use the needs analysis to help our buyers stay on track and discuss some conversations we need to have with them, we need to talk specifically about showing houses, right? So it's the same thing. When you're showing houses, you want to make sure that they're fitting the client's needs analysis. You don't want to just put them on a broad search. You want to be as specific as possible. Right. And have them give you feedback on what you're sending them. If they're not seeing anything that they love and they're not saying, hey, I want to see this house, revisit the needs analysis. What are we doing? How can we fix this? And get them out to see some houses, even if they don't think they're going to like them, because you never know. And by showing houses in person, that's how you're going to learn what they really like. Because that idea of buyers are liars, it's maybe because they haven't seen enough houses to understand what they really like. Right? So in your guide, in your booklet, you have the showing homes best practices, so you can review that. And then once you're ready to show homes, always read the listing agent remarks, the private remarks. Call the listing agent to schedule the appointment if you can. Right? Even if, well, or if it says use the showing app. If you're going to, if the buyer's really interested, I'll call the agent and before I show it, do you have any offers in hand? Do you have any offers in hand? Not do you have threats of offers? Do you have any actual offers in hand? I call them threats when agents call me. I'm sending over an offer. Okay. Doesn't count until I have it. But do you have any offers in hand? Other than price, what's most important to the seller? Because if you say what's most important to the seller, the agent's going to say price. Other than price, what's most important to the seller? If your market allows occupancy, do they need occupancy? Are there any exclusions that I should know about? Even though you've looked at the MLS, are there any exclusions? Time, yes, what's their timeline? Are they looking for a quick close? What's the story, right? And then be ready with your home tour toolkit. I love this. Listen, during COVID, I had a whole nother toolkit. It was insanity. But have a little toolkit. If you live in the winter, have a lighter. Why? Because the lockbox may freeze over. Y'all have some toilet paper in your car. I don't think that's on this list. Oh yeah, it is. Paper goods, toilet paper. Have some toilet paper. I promise it'll come in handy. Showing a vacant house. Really vacant house. Somebody has an emergency potty break. Have some toilet paper. Tape measure, flashlight, all these things are incredible. A map. Okay, have a map of, I don't know why, but okay. This was written in 2021 and it's telling us to have a map. Okay, safety first. We talked about cameras, right? Follow your instincts. When I first moved here, my broker said nothing good ever happens in a basement. Let the buyers go first through the house. Be aware of your surroundings. Even if you've worked with these buyers, and shown them a few houses, just be aware. Use the Forewarn app. Check in, like Showing Time now has like a thing where you, or no, the electronic lock boxes have a thing where you can put somebody in your safety call and it'll check in with you. Like the app will check in with you if you haven't like said you're done showing at a certain point. So anyways, just be aware, be safety first. Oh, can I go back a slide to where? This? Lisa, is this what you were looking for?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Remember, your goal is to sell a home, not just show homes. You want to sell a house, not just show it. Right? Pay attention to their body language and cues. Don't keep showing them how to take a gallon of water. Oh, yes, a gallon of water. That's important too. If the water has been shut off in the house, you cannot flush the toilet. Don't leave a surprise for somebody. It's just gross. Okay. So don't keep showing them houses they don't like. I had buyers that the wife insisted on seeing what in our area is like a bi-level or a tri-level house because she loved how they looked from the outside. Every time we'd walk in one and the stairs were by the front door, she hated it. And then she kept sending me these houses. And I said, I was like, no, we can't look at this house. And she's like, what do you mean we can't look at this house? I'm like, you're not going to like it. We're going to walk in the door and you're going to hate it because the stairs are right there. And she goes, oh yeah, I do hate that. So no, we're looking for a sprawling ranch. That's what you want. Well, I don't like how they look from the outside. Too bad. When we walk in the house, you want an open concept. You want no stairs. Which is more important, the way it looks from the outside or the way you're living on the inside? They bought a ranch on a corner lot with a big kitchen and not all these stairs. Okay. Your job is to help your buyer make the best decision for them. Buying a house is a big deal. They can experience hesitation and reluctance. They're afraid to commit. Right? If they don't like some minor detail of a house, they might not want to move forward. We have to set expectations, right? And work through that. If they feel like they haven't seen enough houses. Listen, friends, have you seen HGTV? You get 3 houses. Pick one. I mean, not really, but still, right? They need to sleep on it to get an opinion of a trusted advisor. Guess what? The house you're sleeping on today is the same house somebody saw yesterday, slept on last night, and is making an offer this afternoon. What do you want to do? Help your buyers make decisions with the following. Go back to their motivation, needs and wants. Advise them as a consultant. Help them with their fears. Allay their fear. I don't know what that word is. Help them through their fears. Solve their challenges. Calculate the cost of waiting. Like, we don't know what prices are going to do. My crystal ball broke a long time ago. I don't know what interest rates are going to do. Honestly, they're probably going to stay the same or go up. I don't know. They're not going to be 3%. Don't be waiting for that. And home prices are going to continue to go up. Historically, they do over time. In a 10-year period, nobody has ever lost money on a real estate purchase. So there you go. Okay, now we're going to talk about sellers. So what sellers want most is help to price their home competitively, help to market their home to potential buyers within a certain time frame, and find ways to fix up their home so it can sell for more. The other category includes help find a buyer for the home, help with negotiation and dealing with buyers, and help with the paperwork. So the most important thing to a seller is price, marketing, and time frame. My goal in every listing appointment with you, my goal with you, Mr. Seller, is to help you sell your home for the most amount of money possible in the time frame that works the best for you with the least amount of stress. In order to do that, I have the 3 P's: price, preparation, and presentation. So we want to make sure we're priced competitively to attract as many buyers as possible. Somebody's drawing on my screen. To attract as many buyers as possible. Oops. And I don't know how to reset. That's fine. To as many buyers as possible. Whatever. We're just going to have those scratches. So we can sell your home for the highest dollar amount in a time frame that works best for you with the least amount of stress, right? So it all kind of goes back to that. So we're going to start in the same place with sellers as we did with buyers. And so we're going to talk about the price, time frame, conveyances. Y'all know what conveyances means?
Transfer.
The stuff that stays with the house.
Transfer.
Sure, the transfer. Yeah, the transfer of the property. Right? Okay, just as with buyers, when things aren't going as you think they should, you need to revisit the needs analysis. Sellers are like buyers, right? The seller's life can also change with the world around them. Okay, if it was February of 2020, you put your house on the market, you had a certain expectation of what would happen. And then what happened? We began unprecedented. The beginning of the unprecedented is what happened. Nobody could have predicted that mess. Yet here we were, right? The seller could also lose their job. So then now the mortgage just became really expensive and changes their timeline. Now they really have to sell. Now they're more motivated, right? Maybe they found the house of their dreams and they're like, oh my God, we have to get this house sold. Oh no, you're okay. It happens. Listen, that pivot call, there's so many people on it. There's all kinds of mayhem that happens sometimes on that pivot call. So there's like less than 100 of y'all. Anyways, we just want to stay in communication, right? There's two things that a seller can control, the price and condition. Your job is to know the market conditions and advise them how to get the best price with the least amount of work in the quickest time frame. So you need to know your market on a hyper local level. The national temperature in the country might be 75 degrees. Is that the temperature? Is that the high temperature in your zip code today? Probably not. Your local market conditions are going to be different, right? And knowing hyperlocal, zip code, school districts, all those things, you got to know all that information. The best way to learn that, by the way, is previewing houses. Preview vacant homes. Don't put a seller out if you're just going to like sneak a peek at their house, right? And then when you preview houses, follow it. Like wait to see what happens. How long did it take to go under contract? Yeah, some houses were underwater after 2021, for sure. For sure. We have seen an uptick of short sales happening. For sellers that had to sell, right? Yeah. That's why you want to ask what their current mortgage balance is, even today. Because most likely they have equity, but maybe they don't. And maybe they don't even have, maybe they have equity in technicality based on the mortgage, but maybe they put $100,000 in cash. They're not going to get that back, right? Okay, so getting a home ready to sell for the highest price with the least work in the best time frame can involve some sensitive conversations. What do you think can pop up that might be a little touchy for the seller to hear? Remove the clutter. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, bye, Callie. Needs a new roof. Needs updating, painting, redecorating, decluttering. How about pet odor?
Mm.
Smoking.
Mm.
Well, liens on the house. I mean, yeah, I mean, you would know that. Yeah. I mean, we do want to ask for sure. And you're going to have title, run a preliminary title search, so we know that upfront as well. Illegal activities is on my little inside list here. I showed a house to buyers. Now this is Michigan. So Michigan became one of the first cannabis legalization states after Colorado, I think. I think we were the second or third or something. I don't know. Anyhow, I'm showing a house. First time home buyer, single guy. And then his parents were along for the ride. We go in this house. We go into the basement. there's a padlock on the door leading into the basement. I'm like, that's weird. Then we go into the basement. There's another door with another padlock. Well, deadbolt. We're like, that's weird. Another room, another door, another deadbolt. Go in the last room. There were electrical boxes all over the ceiling of the room with light fixtures. It took us a minute. First of all, we thought there was like, it was a serial killer basement. Then we got past that, me and my buyer. And the parents are looking, we start cracking up. Anybody have any idea what was going on? Growing lights. Somebody was growing something down in that basement. Anywho, know about that in advance. So you can set the expectation. Make sure they don't leave cash, jewelry, and other expensive things in the house or out in the open. Medications, right? Okay. So communication standards, as we discussed in the beginning of the session, you want to make sure you keep those in front of you as we look at a conversation template. Help sellers see their listing through the eyes of a buyer. I don't know what page it's on because again, my thing doesn't match. So there's a scenario. Who has the scenario handy? I'm going to try to find it because it sort of matches, sort of doesn't. Who has the scenario that they can read out loud? Oh, here it is. Okay. Page. I can't tell what page this is. I'm showing page 52. I don't know if that's right though. Do y'all see that? No. Okay. All right. So let me just tell you what I'm seeing. Okay. Once we agree to work together, I'll advise you, blah, 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 blah. Our goal is blah, 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 right? I'm going to advise you on things you can do to fix up your house. 45. Okay, page 45. Set the expectations proactively throughout the transaction. The location and condition of the home are the first things that attract buyers and their agents. Most prefer a move-in ready model-like home with as few reminders as possible that someone else has lived here. And that includes not being here during showings. Y'all advise your sellers not to be there during showings. That's annoying. Our goal, again, is X. I'll advise you to Y. All this enhances your credibility, by the way. It makes you the expert. You want to tell them from the curb appeal to every room in the house to the backyard, it all matters. Buyer's rent condition is one of the top 3 things they consider when choosing a home. Daydreams don't often come with hammers. And you also want to show up dressed for success, right? Use body language and tone and convey interest, care, and empathy. You want to be the professional. Now, most of y'all are fresh from the real estate course. Don't violate the fair housing opportunity or equal housing. Don't violate fair housing. And if you run across a client that wants to, I had a seller tell me that they didn't want a certain type of person to buy their house. Looked him dead in the face and was like, what do you care? What does it matter? He's like, I was like, you're not going to live here anymore? Who cares about your house? And he's like, well, my neighbors, da, 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 da. I'm like, okay, you know what, sir? Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to chat with you. I will see my way out. I had been in that house for 5 minutes. Listen, let's do the right thing. Let's be kind people. Be good humans. And don't jeopardize your license for some dumb person who doesn't know like which way is up. You know, be good humans. That's what I'll say about that. Okay. No commission is worth reputation. Oh, here's the Y4C2Ts. I forgot it was in here. The last time I looked at this was like last week and I forgot already. Okay. Win-win or no deal. Integrity, do the right thing. Customers always come first. Commitment, Commitment in all things. And then wait, communication, seek first to understand. Creativity, ideas before results. Teamwork, together everyone achieves more. Trust starts with honesty. Equity, opportunities for all. Success, results through people. Swoosh. That's it. That was most of the dance. Y'all couldn't really see me too much, but that was it. Okay. Create a 14-step marketing plan for listings. This is in Command, you guys. This is already done for you. So go to Command, go to the listing presentation, and this leads, listings, and leverage. This is right out of the MREA. So create that 14-step marketing plan. And guess what? It starts to look really fancy to the seller who doesn't know what they're doing. When you focus on your listings, the buyers will come. Oh, and it's also the 14-step marketing plan is also in your participant guide. Okay. The message you put out to attract prospective buyers and sellers is everything. Why would they want to contact you in this market? What would they get if they did? These are two questions that are at the heart of all effective messaging. What's in it for me is what the consumers are asking. Take the word I out of the equation. So you want to be strategic in how you market yourself and the house. You also want to make sure you have everything uploaded correctly in the MLS, have the right documents uploaded into Command. As a PC who is also in charge of compliance for my agents, please upload everything into Command and submit it early. Because the last thing you want to do is find out the day after closing, you're missing a document and you can't get paid unless you turn that document in. Now, the sellers may still like you and they may want to help you out, but they're busy now. There's no incentive for them to sign that piece of paper. Now you got to go chase them down. So early and quickly submit. That's my advice there. Okay, oops. You can get the data directly from the KWLS into your postcard campaigns. If you use Command, Designs, I'm not going to get with your tech trainer on this. Make sure you get with your compliance in your office for your signage and marketing. We're going to skip through this. Okay, now we got to work with other agents. You're not only making an impression on your client, also on the agent. You're colleagues now, right? You're not enemies. You got to work together. And your listing that they bring a buyer for, you may bring a buyer for their listing next month, right? Be as kind and considerate to them. Set up expectations with the communicate, over communicate, tell them what's going on. If your buyer decides to switch lenders, tell the agent right away. Don't hold on to that information. If there's a hiccup, tell the agent right away. Stay in constant communication. As the buyer's agent, did you read all the agent instructions before calling? Go back to the MLS broker remarks or private remarks. Do your due diligence and make sure the answer isn't already in the MLS. Nothing is more annoying than if you put all this stuff in the MLS and the agent calls you and you said, you know, seller to remove funky, you know, built-in the thing. And then you call, is that built-in going to stay? I put it in MLS. Did you read it? Right? So do your homework. Be professional. Does the seller need 48 hours to schedule? If you didn't see that, and now you're like, why isn't the seller approving it, the showing? Because they needed 48 hours. I put it in the MLS, right? Okay, double check. Oh, this is the other thing that's important. Double check the financing type. If the house isn't approved for FHA or VA or the condo or whatever it is, or the seller's not accepting it, or the house is in poor condition, don't show it. If the house is in poor condition, like terrible condition, your buyer's FHA, don't call the agent and say, why aren't you listing FHA as a mortgage type? Because the house is not going to pass the appraisal. Set ourselves up for success. Okay. What are your ahas and takeaways? Do y'all know AHA stands for Agent Helping Agent? In our world, that's what it stands for. What's one thing that you heard today that you were like, oh my God, I've never heard that before?
That a seller is growing something illegal in the property, and they want to sell, yet they didn't know to clean it up before having people come over.
It's not going to make their house more desirable. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's buyer specific, but all right. What else? Who heard something today that you're going to implement in your business right away?
The listing toolkits. What you have to bring when you're gonna have a listing. That's the first time I hear that. The water, especially the gallon water one. Yeah.
Oh, Maria said, looking out for the cannabis lights. That and of course many other things. But in Canada, it's an important thing to look for. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it happens from time to time. It's not. Google reviews. Y'all set up your Google free. Don't pay anybody to do your Google profile. It's free. Super easy. You just walk through it. Okay. Yeah, Google reviews. I heard a hack. If you all listen to the MREA podcast hosted by Jason Abrams, last week's episode with Nick Waldner, he talked about a little hack with the Google reviews. He got a URL, Waldner Winter Team or WTW, whatever it is, reviews.com, and it points directly to the spot in the Google reviews where you type the review and put the 5 stars. I thought that was a pretty good hack.
Could you please say that again?
So when you go to Google reviews, you have to click through to get to the spot where you make reviews, right? So you see the profile, you click on reviews and whatever, and then you get to the little stars. Well, he created a URL called winterwaldnerteamreviews.com that points directly to that spot, that page. So the person doesn't have to Google you, click on the profile, then click on the review.
Thank you.
I thought it was an incredible hack. Yes, Susan, Shonda, I'll see you tomorrow morning, 7:30 on the pre-show. I'll look for you. There's always music at the beginning. So just so you know, there's always music, so don't let that throw you off. And sometimes the pre-show can get a little off the wall. Not bad, but a little goofy sometimes. So anyways, don't let any of that deter you. It's an incredible call. Okay. No, 6:30 Central. 7:30 Eastern. 6:30 Central. Oh, thanks. Oh, speaking of reviews, y'all, I'm working on my Master of Faculty certification with Keller Williams. So if you could, well, it's a KW acronym. It's a made up acronym. Here is the review for Keller Williams University. If you could go on there and leave me a 5-star review, I would be eternally grateful. You have to select your region. You did the course virtually. It's Ignite, I think. Yeah, Ignite. This is session 16. When you click next, you're going to look for the instructor name. I am not listed yet. So you have to type in my name, spell it out, JOLIE ABREU, and then leave me 5 stars. and explain why I was an incredible instructor even on the Zooms. I appreciate it. And I will put in my email and my phone number. Feel free to reach out with any questions that you have afterwards. If there was something that you thought of and you're like, oh my gosh, what did she say? Oh, I'm sending direct message. Sorry, I'm only sending that to Keisha. She's the only one that gets it. kw.com 407-341-3639. There's my email, jolie@kw.com. Super easy. Me and Gary have one word email addresses. Just saying. And yeah, reach out with any questions. You have any referrals in Michigan? I'm happy to help. And Florida, South Florida, Boca Raton area, and Detroit suburbs, Ann Arbor. Cool. Any last thoughts, questions, ahas, takeaways?
Actually, yes, just one.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to piggyback again. For sellers, the 3 Ps that you mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah, it
That's okay.
slipped my mind.
Price,
Mhm.
preparation, and presentation.
Okay.
I actually got that from Jason Abrams. So I didn't make that up. That was his script. Fun fact, Jason was my OP when I joined this office. So we used to learn a lot. Like he would do a lot of trainings and stuff. And I learned his listing presentation. And all he would do was show up with the comps. He didn't do anything fancy. And he talked about price, preparation, presentation. We want to price your house to cause it to be the next to sell. We want to prepare your house to make it show in its best light to get the highest price. And the presentation, that includes professional photography, videography if needed, marketing materials, property description, and let's go. I will not be presenting. Oh, thank you so much for asking if I will be presenting. Someday, I will not. I will be there. So look me up. Send me a text when you're there. I'll be there. I get in Sunday afternoon and I leave Friday morning. I'll be around. If you see me, stop me. Like 1,000%. We'll take a selfie. All right. That's for any of the KW events. If you ever see me, stop me. Say hi. I'm friendly. I won't run the other way. Anyways. All right. Cool, y'all. All right. Anything else before we end this Zoom? Nope.
Wait. What is the evaluation?
Oh, I'll put it in the chat again.
KWEval?
KWUeval.com. Well, this is the Survey Monkey,
KWU.
but it's actually, if you go to the, it's KWUeval.com is the actual URL. Like that's the URL that takes you to the Survey Monkey, but KWUeval.com. Please and thank you, 5 stars. And then you'll see me, Sue. Then you'll see me on the panel moderating. And a market center near you teaching a Keller Williams. 6 Personal Perspectives is my jam. It's my favorite mindset motivation. I love it. Anyways. All right, y'all. Have a very wonderful and have an amazing career. And let me know if I can ever help with anything. All right.
Thank you.
Guys. Bye.
Bye.